Testing. I'm Judy Weeks-Roner, and I'm here tonight. We are going to have a Republican debate between two of our state school board District 8 people. On my right here is Nicole McDermott. On my left is Trina Christensen. We are here tonight. Anything from, and I know you guys won't do that. I've talked to you, but I have to remind you, I'm grateful that American Preparatory has given us the use of this building and their commitment to allowing us to get the word out to people how important elections are. If you know that on June 2nd, primary ballots will be mailed, and the primary is June 23rd. So keep that in mind. These two people have worked diligently, and they're very, very hard at trying to get your attention and your vote. So I'm going to turn the time over to Devon now, and he'll start and he'll tell you the rules.
All right. Thank you very much for inviting me. Hopefully the previous moderator is feeling better. It's never a fun thing to have to call somebody and figure out how to navigate last-minute changes. Tonight we're going to have a standard debate. We're going to start with Trina, who won our coin toss. She's going to start with her 3 minutes, and then Nicole will have her 3 minutes.
I need that.
Need that back? And then once each of them has their 3-minute opening statements, I will start with Trina with a question. I will let her know how much time is allotted for the question, and then she will be allowed to answer. And then we can have a rebuttal from Nicole, and we will go that way forward. So to begin with, let's start with Trina with your opening statement and 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Trina Christensen, and I am running for State School Board District 8. I love children. I truly believe in the success of each and every child. I have been a longtime educator of about 30 years. I have worked in the school system as a school teacher, as an administrator, first and foremost as a mom. I'm wearing my necklace to represent each of my kids. They are my why, and I want to help change the world and to come up with creative solutions so that we can make public education truly the very, very best experience possible. I am passionate about empowering parents to be the leaders and champions of their child's education. I believe that family should make the correct choice for whatever model of education system works best for their children and their families. There is not a one-size-fits-all model in education, and I look forward to collaborating. As my current work right now, I run an after-school program where I work together with students, parents, educators, and daytime administrators in helping the parents to learn how to talk, how to best help their students to be successful academically. I look forward to bringing that collaborative nature with me to the state school board. You have to be the right personality and know that you are one of 15. So you have to be able to be creative and know how to reach and connect with those on the state school board. I look forward to, again, being collaborative, being creative, coming up with ideas, new ideas. I pulled some statistics on the test scores. That is kind of the hot topic right now on the assessments right now. And some of our school districts are underperforming, and what we need to do is to look at that data and to think how we can help our students to achieve. Our educators need support. The admin need to know how to best support the educators. The state school board has done a great job, and I look forward to helping to continue the work with legislating for appropriate wages for the teachers so that we can keep them happy and keep them in the classroom where they do the best job working with the students. I also look forward to advocating for our students. When I say that I love each and every child, I really do. I want to be in the community. I will be in the community, advocating, knowing what needs you have, because students will always and forever come first. They are my first priority. Parents are partners, and I look forward to supporting educators in the state school board. Thank you.
Thank you, Trina. And now for Nicole.
Thank you. My name's Nicole McDermott, and I am running for State School Board, District 8. I wanted to share with you a story. So when I was in 8th grade, my dad lost his job, and my mom had to go back to work as a teacher. And she also had to recertify, so she was going to school as well. There were many days where I went and helped her in her classroom, setting it up, and also doing recording scores for their assignments that she did. And it was a lot of work. And for what underappreciated teacher that she is, I just thought, there's no way I am never going to be a teacher. Well, fast forward a few years, and then when I graduated from high school, I was headed off to college, and I decided to major in music because music is the highest accepted into medical school, and that's what I really wanted to do. So that's what I did, and I had a wise professor who pulled me aside and said, hey, maybe consider majoring in music education, because just in case. And I thought, well, of course that doesn't matter, because just in case, I'm going to be a doctor, it doesn't matter. So I said, okay, whatever. And so I became a music educator. I also, that year, started teaching piano lessons. And I discovered something. I discovered that I really liked teaching, and I was good at it. And that changed the trajectory of my life. I have dedicated my life to education since that time. One of my favorite quotes is, I always thought someone should do something until one day I discovered I was someone. That's why I'm here. I am someone. I feel very passionately about education, and I feel very passionately about being involved. I have been involved in our schools for over 20 years as a parent, as a teacher, and as a board member. I currently serve on the Granite School District Board, and as a teacher and a board member, I have passed policy, and I also know how that policy affects me in my classroom as well as our children. I have been a parent involved at the schools for 15 years as my children have been there. I've been on the PTA, I've served on the community council and helped decide that budget and where that money goes. I have been in the classroom as a volunteer. That's important to me because that's where you understand and know how education is run in this state. I've been an involved community member. I have gone to city council meetings and community council meetings. I have talked to our elected officials because that's important. I know how to make tough decisions, and I know how to advocate because I've been doing it as a parent, as a community member, and as a board member. I am proud of the work that we've done to amplify parent voices on the board. I think it's important for us to make sure that we're collaborating with our parents, and I'm proud of the stuff that we've done in order to do that in Granite District. My goal is to keep politics out of the classroom, make sure our teachers are supported, amplify parent voices, and make sure that our focus is on student achievement. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Just a little clarification, both candidates will be given the opportunity to answer the question, and then they'll be given 30-second rebuttals accordingly. Neither candidate has been given any of these questions up to this point. Neither candidate is allowed to have any kind of electronic devices or anything up here, so this is purely them and their answers off the top of their head. One brief reminder is if your cell phone has not been silenced already, please take a moment to do that now so that we can keep the flow of the event going. So we're going to start with our first question for Trina, and then we'll have Nicole answer the same question, and we'll have the rebuttal from there. Question number one, this will be a 2-minute response. What is the biggest issue you feel is facing the Utah State Board of Education, and why?
That is a really great question. I think the biggest issue facing the state school board right now is what they are being taxed with redoing their standards. I've received a lot of feedback from a lot of different constituents where they are very concerned about the social studies curriculum and the math standards and the type of math that the kids are doing. And the legislators have kind of taxed the state school board to come up with and amend those standards. That's going to be a little tricky, but it's going to take all of us coming together so that we can creatively, collaboratively look at the data, what's working, what's not working. If there has been a line item that has been given and advocated for specific programs from the legislation, then we need to, and it's not working, then we need to go back to the drawing board and ask the legislators to possibly reallocate those funds. Why that is an issue, we need to make sure that our students are learning from the very best curriculum out there possible. I'm not saying that the state school board should control the curriculum. That is up to each individual school district. However, we need to make sure that the standards are crystal clear and that we have the best standards so that our students can have increased test scores, self-confidence, and educators know exactly how to teach. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole, do you need me to repeat the question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. What is the biggest issue you feel is facing the Utah State School Board of Education, and why?
Thank you. I think, to me, one of the biggest issues, I saw them grapple, and I think everybody that's in politics right now is grappling with this, is the budget. I saw them grapple with this earlier this year. They were asked to do a 5% budget cut, and it was very difficult for them to sit there and go, okay, which programs would we pull, and which programs do we need to, which ones are our priority, which ones are the things that we need to focus on. I think that's one of the biggest things that all of us are dealing with, whether it's in our own households or whether it's on the state school board. And that's super important for us to understand because we do have a declining population with students, and we need to be able to also align our priorities with what our students need. So making sure that we do that. I think also another, if I wanted to add a second one, it would probably be that our state school board sometimes has a hard time getting stuff passed because of disagreement. And I feel like that's something that I've had experience with. I've served on a board with people who don't always agree, but I've learned ways to be able to get them to come to the table, by the end of the night, we leave as friends. And that's important because if you're going to get anything done in any sort of arena like this, you have to be able to get along and to be able to see the other person's perspective. That is one of the things that I think is really critical. I also think they need to make sure that we're getting parent voices more, and I've appreciated some of their efforts lately, and I want that to continue and to really pull that in, especially as we're doing, as Trina mentioned, the curriculum. That's super important.
Okay. Trina, did you have a rebuttal? Okay. We'll go ahead and move on. This past week, there have been, and this is for you, this will be a 2-minute response. This past week, there have been many news articles about teachers' pay and the increase in class sizes in our school. What is your response?
That's a great, I wish I had more than 2 minutes. First of all, I want to make sure that we have a good understanding of this. I know there was a news article about the fact that our administrators make 61% more than our teachers. Now, if you look at that, let's make sure that we're looking at the right thing, because our teachers are on a 9-month contract, whereas our administrators are on a 12-month contract. So automatically, you have teachers that are on 188 days, whereas administrators are on 240 days. That's a huge difference in how many days they have to work and how many hours. And if you actually look at how many hours they put in versus what teachers do, they actually make less than a teacher if you were to have their daily rate. And that's something that's important to understand. Our administrators also have to make sure that they are accountable for everything in the school. So that's really, I think, a critical part of this. Yes, I think our teachers do need to have more support. We need to have some resources in order to give them the support that they need. Reading has been a very critical part of what has been in the news as well. And in order to get those kids to the place where they can read, we need to look at things like reducing class sizes, giving supports to those teachers, making sure that we have paraeducators in those classrooms so that they can give that one-on-one attention to those kids who are behind, and making sure that they have what they need in order to succeed. That is absolutely critical. And my hope as being a state school board is that we would have a better voice with the legislatures in advocating for that and helping them understand that.
Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Yep. This past week, there have been many news articles about teachers' pay and increases in class sizes in the schools. What is your response?
Thank you so much. Yep, no, you're good. I can wait. Okay, thank you so much for your question. That is always an issue that I hear when talking with educators, is that there are always more and more students in the class, and they feel like they have more expectations and less control over the class. What I would like to see with teacher pay versus administrator pay is more transparency. A lot of times it's very difficult to find exactly how much administrators make compared to the teachers. I know that there are some tools that are out there that Tina Cannon from the state auditors class has also put together for the Transparent Utah so that wages are more easily accessible. But I also want to make sure that the admin are doing their job in supporting the educators. We need to make sure that as admin, we know how we can best support with all of the extra early intervention, collaborations that we're going to have to do with the new legislation that's been passed. We will need to be able to work together collaboratively and collectively, creatively, in fact, as a team. We need to make sure that we are empowering the parents to also step up and work with the teachers and work with us as a state school board members. I want to continue to advocate for legislation to continue to support educator salaries so that we can keep them in the classroom working and teaching with the students.
Thank you. Would you like to have a rebuttal?
I don't know that it's a rebuttal, but I do want to clarify that the teachers' salaries, as well as administrators, anybody who's a public employee, that information has been on the website for a very long time. And I do appreciate Tina Cannon making it a little bit simpler and for us to be able to understand it a little bit better, but that's information that has been transparent.
Okay. And 30 seconds for you? Okay, we're good. All right. This one is going to be a 1-minute response, Trina. And there's not going to be a rebuttal on this one just because it's a very, very simple question.
1 minute.
what is your position about ending diversity programs in school?
All right, thank you so much for that question. Parents and students should not fear what they're going to encounter as far as curriculum and material in the school. I support making sure that our students are not put in a position where they are encountering what are contradictory to their family's beliefs. I fully support making sure that our curriculum is fair and it is comfortable with the approaches and what the families agree with. I do not think that, again, families and students should be in fear of what they are going to be in contact with every day.
Okay. Just a moment. All right. What is your position about ending diversity programs in schools?
That's a great question, and it is very much a hot topic right now. I think it's important to remember that a lot of the DEI initiatives were aimed at colleges because that was where a lot of that was happening. However, we do have a law in place, and we should absolutely be following that law here in Utah. We should be supporting our students, all of our students, no matter what they are, who they are, or where they come from. And it's important for us to remember that we support our students, period. That they are there because their parents have trusted us with them, and that they should feel supported and feel like they have what they need in order to be successful in life, and that shouldn't matter what they look like or where they come from. We should be supporting them, period.
Okay, thank you. And Judy reminded me that this one actually does have a rebuttal if you'd like to. So that was my error. So if you would like a 30-second rebuttal. Okay. All right. For you, this is another 1-minute response. This one will have a rebuttal. Have you attended a state school board meeting, and if so, what impressed you the most?
I don't know if you would count virtual. State school board meetings happen when I am teaching school, so it's very difficult for me to actually make it to there in person, but I do watch them virtually, and I have even streamed them live on my way to school and have listened to them. I have listened to the committee meetings. It is something that's important to me. I've reached out to people who have testified there. I have reached out to board members. So while I have not physically been there in person, I have had a chance to make sure that I know and understand the things that have impressed me. I think I'm going to put this out there because I did tell somebody this. I think Chair Hymas has done a fantastic job in making sure that they are focused and that they are doing what they need to be doing there in those meetings. And that has impressed me lately, that they're very much more focused. So.
All right, Trina? Can you repeat the question? Have you attended a state school board meeting, and if so, what impressed you the most?
Thank you so much for that question. Yes, I have attended a state school board meeting in the past. I wanted to experience it. If I am going to be advocating and spending hours and hours with the other state school board members, I wanted to know what this was like. What impressed me the most was the order that they did have. And although they have really difficult topics that they have to get through, in the end, they know how to work collaboratively and cooperatively together. Do they all agree? No. But as we know, we have to agree to disagree and respect each other's positions while advocating for what is best for students. I will always forever ask, what is best for students? Does it support students? Does it support families? Does it support educators? That's what I really loved, is the cooperative nature about the state school board. And I keep up on the agendas. I read through them, I read through the minutes, and keep in contact with the state school board members as well.
Okay. Yep.
I need to interject a little bit here. On this particular question, the reason I asked it is because we wanted to make sure that there was an avenue for these people to be able to see what's happening. The fact that they're doing Zoom calls, they record it and everything. I wanted to make sure that both candidates knew about the opportunity, and that's why that question was there. It got a little confusing here. Thank you.
All right, Nicole. correction. Trina, you get this question. This is going to be a 2-minute response, but this one has some history to it, so bear with me on the history here. In 2016, the Utah legislature passed a bill modifying the nature of elections of the Utah State School Board, elections to the Utah State Board of Education. The bill, which took effect on January 1, 2017, mandated that all future elections to the board be partisan. On June 27, 2017, Utahns for Public School and the PTA filed a lawsuit in arguing that the law violates the state constitution and sought its repeal before the 2018 elections. In December of 2017, the 3rd District Court Judge Andrew Stone ruled in favor of the challenges, stating that the law was unconstitutional. However, that ruling prevented the law from taking effect in 2018. In 2019, the Supreme Court ruled that the State School Board of Education elections can be partisan, therefore reinstating that law. What is your opinion of having these elections be partisan and why?
Thank you so much for that question. I actually support the state school board being partisan. In conversations that I've had and in my past experience, I'm a mother of 5. I've experienced the public education system as well in both the school districts and in the charter school forum. A lot of our material has become, can I say tainted? It's not what we want to have, and it's not the ideals that our founding fathers advocated for. And we need to make sure that we are the defenders of liberty for our kids, to be able to teach them a sense of pride of being a United States citizen, and making sure that they know what that means, to make sure that they can absolutely believe in the ideals in the state school board members that they advocate for. I look forward to fighting and advocating and defending liberty for our students, so that they know how important it is that we have a public education system that not only works but is successful.
Okay. All right, Nicole, do you need me to go over that again, or?
No.
Okay.
It's a great question, and it really, I'm going to be honest, I have some mixed feelings about it, because I think it's hard I see how hard it was, and I wonder if this is part of the reason why it changed, because it is hard to run a campaign like this in a nonpartisan way. I've run a nonpartisan campaign, and I had great competitors. I had great opponents that were also Republican, and every time I went to a door, I shouldn't say every time, often when I went to a door, they would say, well, are you Republican or Democrat? And I would say, well, I mean, I'm a Republican, but so is my opponent. And so it's really difficult to run a nonpartisan race, and especially one that is this large. So I feel like some of that may have also been because then one of our political parties can put their muscle behind the candidate, and I think that is actually a benefit, because it's really hard to get your message out when you don't have a little bit of help. I do see, however, where people are upset about it, and I can understand, because the last place that we want politics is to be in the classroom. We don't want our kids to be pulled one way or the other. I don't disagree. I think it's true. We want our kids to have the opportunities and to be taught to think for themselves and to be taught all of the things that they need to know. So when you put politics into it, sometimes you get some of that leaking into the classroom, and that's where we've got to be super careful. But I do also believe that whether you're partisan or not, people can understand and feel, okay, you have some conservative values, and that's what you stand for, and that's what we're voting for, and I think that's important.
Thank you.
I would like a rebuttal,
Okay,
please.
30 seconds.
Thank you so very much. I'll wait for a moment. All right, thank you so much. I also agree with my opponent that we need to keep politics outside of the classroom. However, we need to make sure that we are respecting the ideas and ideals of everyone. Our parents have expectations of us to make sure that we have a wholesome education that's also successful and helps to make sure that our students are prepared for an education. So thank you.
Nicole, would you like 30?
Sure, I'll take 30. I agree. I think we do need to make sure that we do that. But I think once I've had an opportunity to be in politics now and talk to people on both sides of the aisle, all sides of the aisle, and I don't think we have goals that are different from each other. I think it's just the way that we get there, and that's what's key to remember is that we all do want to have the best thing for our kids. I think everybody wants that. So having that, being able to work together is what's really important.
All right, Nicole, the next question goes to you. It is a 2-minute response. There have been several audits conducted by the Utah State Auditor in recent years. Of these, which one has caught your attention, and what, as a school board member, can you do to improve the issues that have surfaced in those audits?
I'll talk about the most recent one that I listened to was the one on CTE. I know the board members asked for an audit on our CTE programs, which are fantastic programs, but we have to also be very realistic about this. And I guess as a fine arts teacher, as a performing arts teacher, I really advocate for my program. And I see a lot of these CTE programs, which are fantastic, but I wonder how relevant they are. They get a ton of money. I teach right across the hall from a CTE teacher, and he has, I think, 6 laser printers in his room. They're just all of these things that they're fantastic, and I love that the kids are having this opportunity. But I also know that I have a friend whose kid just graduated from college with a degree in computer science, and he can't get a job because those are the jobs that are being taken by AI. So I think the audit on that was really relevant because we need to make sure that we're reevaluating this program. We're putting a ton of money into CTE right now, and are we getting what we need to? Are we filling the jobs that are here? Are we making sure that we have our job market, those kids being prepared for that? Is what we're teaching them in the CTE relevant to what's happening in our state and where those jobs need to be? So I think that was to me, a very relevant audit, and I kind of cheered when I heard it, and I'm like, yay! I'm so glad that they're looking at this because it is something we need to make sure that we're teaching the right classes and getting the kids on the right track to get the jobs that are available right now.
All right, thank you. All right, Trina?
Thank you so much for that question. Nicole and I are both fine arts teachers, right? So, of course, the CTE audit also piqued my interest, and I have actually spoken to a couple of the state school board members to kind of dive deep into what the audit findings were so that I could best understand kind of their actions and their suggestions. CTE has been around for a little while, and like my opponent says, they get a whole lot of money, but we need to make sure too that whenever the legislators and school districts are advocating and allocating money to programs, we need to make sure that we are assessing them regularly so that we know, are we getting the ROI, the return on investment? Is it helping students be successful? Is it helping them to be prepared for the future, for their careers? If not, we need to reassess that, and we should always be looking at the data and willing to look and evolve and refine. Just because we do something once doesn't mean that it's a one and done. We need to keep revising and revisiting that many times. I also want to make sure, as I was speaking to some of the state school board members as well, they noticed that there is not specific enough language revolving around CTE for the districts and for the state school board for that matter. So they want to clean up and be more specific for CTE moving forward so that we can have very specific standards and expectations for that so that we can do the very best for our students to make sure that they are ready and prepared for the future.
Nicole, for rebuttal? 1 second.
I'm not going to rebut anything that she said because I mean, we obviously agree, but I do want to add that I think we need to be better. We do need to be better about making sure that we are assessing them and that was one of the things that they found in the audit also, was that we're not seeing if this is being effective. We're not seeing, are they learning? Are they actually learning what they're supposed to be learning, which is really important in anything that we're teaching. We need to be able to assess and make sure they're hitting goals. So, yes.
All right. Anything for you? 30? Okay. All right, this question is for you. It will be a 2-minute response. Although this topic has dropped out of the news recently, there is still a nationwide teacher shortage. As a member of the school board, how do you plan to address the teacher shortage in our state?
That is a really excellent question, and I've spoken to a lot of educator colleagues, both in Utah and out of state, because I want to know what it's like outside of the state of Utah with hiring and why they chose not to come back to their home state and they decided to go elsewhere. As a state school board member, I want to make sure that our administrators are supported in, and our districts are supported in how to best recruit. We need to do what we can to advocate for the money for incentives, to bonuses, to bring teachers out, to let them know how incredible they are, and how they could give back and inspire our wonderful students. I also would want to put together a coalition so that we could really study what is the downfall. Why are we not getting highly qualified teachers not only applying but staying in the profession for many, many years? So I am very collaborative in nature. I want to we are stronger together than we are apart and alone. And so I want to make sure that we are doing our due diligence to pull the data to really find out and get to the meat of the problem as to the why, so that we can work collaboratively together to address that moving forward, because our students deserve the very best educators possible. And if we want to improve our test scores and improve the self-confidence and the readiness of our students, we need to get the highly qualified teachers here in the state of Utah. And I will do my very best with my collaborative nature that I have to work together with the other state school board members to come up with a better solution and new ideas.
Thank you. Nicole, do you need the question again? Okay.
Teacher shortage has been a hot topic, and I can tell you why it's not as much of a hot topic anymore. We have a declining enrollment statewide. Even the places that are booming, we just don't have as many kids being born. We don't have families that are large and that are moving into our state. We have a lot of I know in Salt Lake County, this is what we're dealing with a lot, is we have the only people who can afford the houses are either really mature families, older families that have teenagers or older, or even just empty nesters. These are the people that can afford these homes. So I think really if we're going to look at making sure that we have teachers, we need to look at why. I mean, right now we don't need them, is basically what I'm saying. Right now we have such a surplus of them that it's not really a problem. But if we do have a teacher shortage again, and hopefully we'll get to that point, I would highly advocate for pay with our legislators. Our legislators need to understand that needs to be something that is so important, and it really is what helps keep those teachers in the classroom. Teachers need to feel supported. They need to feel supported by their administration. They need to feel supported by parents. They need to feel supported by the district. We need to reduce class sizes, because that's one thing that really stresses, I think, teachers out a lot, is having 35 kids in a class is a lot. We need to make sure that we have behavior supports, that we back up teachers with behaviors. If they send a kid down to the office, they don't come back with a lollipop. They come back having an understanding of they will behave in class. And we need to also make sure that the expectations that we have for our educators are very clearly defined, and that we are not asking them to do things in addition to what they understand and what they know. All of those things are important when we are talking about keeping teachers.
Would you like the rebuttal? Okay. Okay, Nicole, for you. What responsibility does the state school board have concerning the pay structure of district superintendents and high-level administrators? This will be a 2-minute.
The state school board, can you repeat it just so I can understand it?
What responsibility does the state school board have concerning the pay structure of district superintendents and high-level administrators?
As far as I know, they don't have any responsibility. They do have some influence as far as legislation that could be passed. However, the responsibility of a superintendent the superintendent is really on the school board, and the higher ups that's under the superintendent. there are things that I think we can advocate for as a state school board. I know, just having talked about this with my own school board, there are some things that we have talked about that, hey, if we're going to expect this of teachers, if we're going to expect this of administrators, we should expect this of our superintendent. We should expect this. And there are important things that I think we should all expect. We should be asking them to be accountable. We should ask them to that their pay structure be fitting for what they're doing and what their responsibilities are, and that if, like a teacher, if they're not doing their job, we should make sure that they're held accountable for that. So that's I guess I'm not sure that a state school board is responsible. They can influence it, but they're not responsible for it.
Okay. And Trina, ready?
Yep, ready.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that question. Agreed. The state school board's job is not to set the pay structure for the district superintendent or high-level administration. However, they can work with legislators if it is found that some school districts are not abiding by the parameters given by the legislation. The state school board's job is to make sure that the money that is allocated to the school districts are being spent well, that they are being held accountable if they are not, and it is very important too that we make sure that that if there are any issues with any of the district pay that you are uncomfortable with, you go to your school district first. If you still get nowhere with the school district, then we also have on the state school board ways that you can file a complaint and launch an investigation. So, but the state school board's job is not to advocate and set that pay. So, and I absolutely support that. I don't want micromanagement of the state school board over the school districts. They should be able to set the pay parameters. However, as the state school board, we should be able to look at it just to double check that everything is on the up and up, and if not, then move forward with corrective action if necessary.
All right. Would you like the 30-second rebuttal? Okay. Okay, Trina, this question is for you. It is a 4-minute response. And as my dad said, this is kind of a loaded question. So for both of you, be ready. If elected, what would be your first priority as a board member?
Thank you so much. Gosh, so point it down to one thing. If elected, my first priority is going to be supporting the educators. I have been talking to a lot of the educators who have been educators for 20, 30 years, and they dread going to work because of behavior management. That's what it boils down to. I excel in professional development. I've created curriculum. I've trained teachers. I would love to be able to get kind of a cohort of teachers together so that I know how we can best support them to make sure that they can do the very best job possible. Our educators are the ones that are in charge of teaching our kids. Our kids are incredible. They have the highest potential if we believe in them and hold the expectations. But I want to make sure that the teachers themselves are empowered to know what to do and how to do it successfully. I want to make sure the administrators at each school know how to properly support their teachers so that they can feel confident as well, so that when administrators are having to deal with parents or students, they know how to best support them. Because when we believe in our students and we are putting together the necessary supports and helps, they will succeed, as will their parents. Their parents also need to know that they can be empowered to help them at school. I have created programs. Every program I have been a part of, it ends up with high results. I've worked with parents. I've empowered them to know how to be the champions of their child's education, how to help them be academically successful. These are at-risk students that I have worked with, students who have come to school not knowing how to speak English. It is possible, and the teachers just need some more supports. But I would want to be able to support them, but also, again, making sure that we have all of the processes and procedures that the admin need to also support their teachers as well.
All right, thank you. All right, Nicole?
Okay. I apologize. Take a sip of water.
Sorry, you guys. I've had this cough for a long time, and I went to the doctor for the 5th time today, so hopefully it will be going away. So if elected, what is the first thing that I would do? Is that what the question was?
If elected, what would be your first priority as a board member?
The first priority, okay. I think I'm just going to say I think that's a little it's a little vague, because the first priority for me would be to get to know the rest of the board. I think if I'm going to be working closely with these people and making sure that we're passing good not good legislation, but good policy, if we're working together so closely, we need to know each other. I need to know them. I need to know who they are. I need to know what they do. I think that was one of the most valuable things when I became a board member in Granite, is that somebody pulled me aside and said, hey, let's go to lunch. I just want to get to know who you are. So as far as that, now if we're talking political priorities, my number one priority, and I have pushed this as a Granite School Board member, but also I would have the same priority as a state school board member. We have legislative committees for things that happen in the state, whether it is commerce or water or housing. We have committees made up of people who are experts in those areas that also sit on the committee with legislators when they make these laws. And they pass legislation through them. They say, this is what we see, this is okay, this is how this would impact us, this is what would be good, this is what would be bad. And then before that ever makes it to the floor, they've passed through this committee and they've been able to give some really good feedback with that. Well, we don't have that with education. I sat there with a lawmaker a couple years ago in a school, and I said, we want our kids to be safe, and we appreciate the school safety bill that you passed. But do you know what that did? That means that we did an audit with it for our school district, and it would cost us $100 million to fulfill that entire school guardian bill. They gave us $100 million statewide. That was not enough. So he looked at us and he said, well, I had no idea. And I said, you didn't? How come you didn't know? We talked to you. But he said, why did this not get passed through the education committee? And I said, what education committee? And it was very frustrating to hear. He said, we have that. We have that for the committee that I sit on. Why do we not have that for education? We don't have that for education. This is why we have 200 plus bills, almost 300 last year, in education, K-12 education alone. That should not happen. We shouldn't have to go to 6 revisions during a legislative session in order to get a bill right. We shouldn't have to bring it back 5 or 6 times in order to get it right. We should be able to get it right because we pass it through people who are experts in their field. We need to have people who are business administrators. We need to have superintendents. We need to have teachers. We need to have parents. We need to have voices from all over so that they can see that legislation and be able to articulate, this is how this bill will affect us. We need to have that committee, and that needs to be a top priority so that we can get education right here in this state and not have it be a process where, well, maybe it'll work this year. Well, maybe we'll go back and revise it. Well, maybe we'll do this. We need to be able to do that from the start because that's how we're going to get things done here in this state.
Trina.
I would like a rebuttal, please, if I could. Thank you.
That'll be a 1 minute. Yes.
All right, thank you so much. I wanted to just touch on a couple of points as my opponent was speaking. First, one thing that I wanted to do was to make sure that I knew the members of the state school board. If I was going to be working with them, after I filed, I started reaching out to them, and I've been able to connect with almost all, about 5/8 of the state school board. You have to know who you're going to be working with. They need to know you so that they know what you're able to bring to the table. As far as having a different committee to make sure that we have the research and everything going into it, from my perspective, that is the research that goes into forming what should be legislated. And with you working together with the legislator, you have a parent cohort that you put together. You have professionals in the field you put together as well to give input for the legislation so that you can have a successful bill, one that is well written and something that we can execute fully.
Thank you. Nicole, 1 minute.
That is absolutely true. We should have that. And legislators, I would hope, would do that, but they don't always. And that's the problem that we have, and that is why we have 300 bills in education, 200, I think there were 216 or 218 this year. That's why we have so many, whereas other areas only have 15 or 20. So it's critical that we have that input, and we should be having that. Absolutely, I agree.
Thank you. Our final question.
We're going to pick one from the audience, and here's all the questions, and I'm going to let you just pull one out, and we'll see. It has to pertain to education, so first. Oh, okay, that's good.
All right.
And that's a 2-minute.
This will be a 2-minute response with the 30-second rebuttals. And we'll start with Trina. How much time and effort is put into lobbying with the state legislature?
All right, so I will speak about how much time and effort I will put in to advocating with the state legislature. This is something that I am passionate about. It is something that I excel in having experience with. And I have already told everyone that my schedule is going to be cleared because I am on the Hill during the legislative session period. I know how to advocate and meet with legislators. I've done so effectively. I know how to make sure that we can successfully get RFA asks for very specific line item asks in the public education subcommittee. And I will make sure that I am lobbying and advocating for our students to make sure that we can increase our test scores, that we can make sure that our standards are where they need to be so that our children can be successful, not only academically right now in their school, but successful in the future as adults.
All right, thank you. Nicole.
How much time and effort is put into lobbying now? I think it has increased over the last little while. I do agree with that. I think that is someplace, though, that our state school board, we definitely could do a little bit better, and I appreciate their efforts that they have made lately. And I also would be absolutely an advocate for making sure that I am up there during the session. I have been up there during the session. I do go up there as a school board member. I've gone up there as a teacher, and I've gone up there as a parent. I've talked to our legislators. I know how to advocate for our kids because I've done it. I do it every year. I talk to them regularly, even when it's not during the legislative session, and I make sure that they understand what this is and how this impacts our kids. And that's absolutely critical when it comes to making sure that our lawmakers are creating good legislation for our education.
Okay. And Trina, would you like the rebuttal?
Yes, if I could, please.
Okay, 30 seconds.
I just want to also clarify that advocating and lobbying with legislators is not only during the session. We are actively involved right now. I am already in conversation with legislators, senators, House of Representative members, so that I know what is important to them, what they see coming down the pipeline. We always have to be actively engaged, not only knowing what the legislators have kind of in the back of their mind, but I also need to be actively engaged with the community so I know how to best serve students, families, and educators.
Okay, and would you like the 30 seconds? Okay, at the beginning of our debate, we asked what is the biggest issue you feel is facing the State Board of Education and why? And to end tonight, Yep, I got it.
This is the question.
What is the main problem you want to fix? 2 minutes.
I think that kind of summed it up, my very passionate last reply as far as making sure that we have some good communication with our legislatures. We need to make sure that they understand how things are impacting our classrooms, how they're impacting our students, how they're impacting our communities. We need to make sure that we're advocating for our kids and for what is best for them. And it's different. I'm very much a believer in local control. That is a tenet of what we believe. And that is absolutely true, that we as a local school district or as a local school or as a teacher in my classroom, we know what is best and we can do what is best for our kids working with parents. Our education system is here so that we can help our students become prepared to be engaged citizens here in this world. That is absolutely critical. So I guess I know that's kind of restating what I just said, but I think that is really important, and that's something that I think is very critical to change and advocate for highly.
Okay. And Trina, what is the biggest problem you would like to fix?
Thank you so much for that question. I've thought about this question a lot in my conversations that I have had with educators and with parents and even with students. And the biggest concern keeps coming back to parents being kind of disengaged from education, where they think that they are just going to send their kids to school. The teachers have to discipline them, and then they are good to go and they don't have to do anything else. I know that it is possible for parents to be empowered so that they can lead their children, they can help their children, they know how important it is to be with their children and celebrate them at home. I have helped to train parents to be successful at this. I have trained parents and helped them to know how to best do this and when they don't speak English. It is possible. Our students deserve the very best support. It starts in the home, and I want to make sure that our parents are empowered to make those decisions and know exactly how to best help them to be successful academically, socially, and prepared for the future.
All right. Did you want 30 seconds? Okay. Thank you very much tonight for being a part of this debate. Clearly, both candidates are very passionate about what they do and about their positions here in running for the school board, and thank you. We will now conclude, and we will give each candidate 3 minutes to sum up their campaign and any final thoughts they would like to give. So we'll start with Trina, and then we'll end with Nicole.
Thank you so much. I just took a drink of water. My name is Trina Christensen, and again, I would love to be able to earn your vote for State School Board District 8. When I was little, Whitney Houston was my favorite singer, and I had a cassette tape, and I had my radio, and I would listen to her song over and over and over. The lyrics that have stuck with me to this day, I know it might sound a little cheesy to y'all, but is I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Again, I was in elementary school when I first heard this, and there was something that just stuck with me and resonated with me. I truly believe that our students are the future. I know that they can achieve whatever they want to achieve if we work together. Again, first and foremost, my concern will always be the students. Are we best making decisions to best serve the students? Are we empowering our parents to be the champions and leaders of their child's education? Are the policies that we are making on the state school board helping or hindering educators? If it's the latter, we need to make sure that we are helping and putting those supports necessary. I also believe that our parents need to be empowered to make the right choice for their child's education. Like I mentioned before, choice is huge. We have so many diverse learners out there, and parents need to know that it is okay for them to make the choice best for them, for their child, for their family. And I want to bring my collaborative nature. I have a wealth of experience. Again, I'm a mom of 5. I've been in the classroom. I've been an administrator. I've trained people. I've designed curriculum. I've served on national boards. I myself have won elections of national boards and so forth. I know board governance. I know how to work collectively with people. I love education. I am passionate about that. And I can't wait to bring that work ethic and that passion and that joy and that fire. I want the students to know who I am. I will be in your community. I will listen to you. I want you to have my cell phone number. I want you to have my email, and I will respond back to you because I am here to serve you. not myself. I am here to serve you as parents, as teachers, as students, and as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to first say thank you to Judy Weeks-Roner for setting this up and for American Preparatory Academy for hosting us. And I appreciate everybody who's here tonight to really do your job and to find out about the issues. My name is Nicole McDermott, and I am running for State School Board District 8, and I would appreciate your vote. I'm going to share with you a story really fast. Hopefully it's really fast. I told you that I teach school, and I teach right across the hall from the AP geography teacher, and we were talking during lunchtime, because that's what we do, about politics and some of the things that were going on. And he said, you know what? One of my students came up to me the other day, and he said, dang it, you're making me angry because I can't decide which party you belong to. And he looked at him and he said, that's exactly right. You shouldn't know. We shouldn't be having politics. We shouldn't be keeping politics in the classroom. It doesn't matter what my personal beliefs are. We need to make sure that our kids have a good education, and that needs to be our number one focus. We need to find ways to support our teachers, make sure that they have everything that they have there that they need so that they can be successful in supporting their students. We need to amplify parent voices. We need to make sure that we find ways to get their voices heard and to be part of their students' education. And we need to, most of all, be focused on our student achievement. Make sure that that is the focus of every decision that we make in this state as far as education is concerned. We need to say, how does this affect our students? Is this going to help? Is this return on investment going to help our students and make them achieve higher and do things better? That is our number one goal, and it's got to be our number one focus. And that is something that I am a mom. I've been in the schools for 15 years, working as a volunteer, as a PTA mom, doing all of that. I'm a teacher and an educator. I've been there as a teacher in a classroom for 26 years. And most of all, I am in the community. I know the people that I serve. I know the people that are around me. I've been to our community council meetings. I've been to our city council meetings. I've met our elected officials, and I know and I've advocated with them for things that need to happen in our community. And that to me is so important, to have somebody who's ready, who has already been doing this and who knows how to do this, so that we can get going from day one, that we can get these decisions made, and that we can move education forward in this state, because that's what's important, because our kids are our number one commodity here in this state. They are the most important thing, and we need to make sure that they are taken care of. My name's Nicole McDermott, and I'm asking for your vote in June. Thank you.
That's just what I was going to ask you to do, to have a round of applause for these wonderful ladies. Can you imagine the excellent candidates that we have in District 8? I also failed to mention at the beginning that this is going to be streamed. It will be available on YouTube, so where you can review it again. And I'd like to thank Dorn Barton for doing the video and everything, so where we could get this done. And I have to say something. My teammate here, he decided to add the shortage of teachers as part of the thing, so I can't take credit for that one, you guys. However, we are finished. It is time to go. We have to be out of the building by 9 o'clock. If you go outside, these wonderful candidates are there to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you again. Thank you, APA, for allowing us to serve and be here tonight. Thank you. And thank you for coming. I hope it was worthwhile.